We're rolling? Okay.
You guys want to get going?
All right.
The sound level's good? Sound is good. All right. So
we're here to make people mad.
Hey, let's do it. I've been doing this since
How you doing,
man? Good.
Glad to be here.
Finally get to have a conversation that you and I have always wanted to have on camera. We've had plenty of conversations.
Yeah, we talk a lot.
Yeah. Let's just jump right into it, man. Like guns.
Yeah.
Right? It's volatile.
Yeah.
It's political. It's divisive. You name it.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't understand why guns are political. I don't think it should be.
Well, they are political in that our Bill of Rights guarantees us the right to own them.
Exactly. I don't think they should be political from the standpoint of being as divisive as they are based
on
party lines.
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't.
And that's to me the thing that kind of really throws things off for me, because I came into firearms in the most organic way you could possibly think of. Yeah,
a friend turned you on to it. You weren't a gun guy at first, right?
No, not
just
at all.
Just a regular young black kid, became a lawyer, did everything right. Hey. All of a sudden somebody says, we're gonna give you a gun.
I started playing with guns ever since.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
You represent to me the more of the typical, like I have to see guns in a duality. I know it's hard to say this sometimes as an advocate, or especially when you're associated with NRA and things of that nature, that as black men, you have to see guns duality. You see it first and foremost as an American.
Yeah.
What you learn in civics class about your First, Second Amendment rights, then you have to see guns as an African American. And they have helped us tremendously in our fight for freedom, justice, and equality in this country. So for me, guns are an applicable tool in terms of fishing, hunting, farming, because I grew up in the South. I grew up by people who were raised in the rural South. My grandparents, my father was a former police officer. He's a huge gun advocate. Most of the men in my family are gun owners and actively shoot. So for me, there's the experience of being a Southerner. And as a black guy, we only 54 years out of apartheid. And most people don't ever approach that, but that's very true. We're only 50, my dad is 62. He was born in apartheid, and I'm not talking South Africa, I'm talking about in America. So, and then as an American, there's something to be said for any republic that wishes to make sure the balance of the proletariat versus what potentially could become an oligarchy is there. And that's what our Second Amendment provides for. You're able to resist tyranny should you choose to.
No, and the weird thing is that duality of consciousness that you spoke on, being a black man, black gun owner, and then being a gun owner.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
They're one and the same, but then they're different.
They are different.
Right?
They are
different. Because the experiences, even from my standpoint, like I knew, like when I first started carrying a gun, there was that duality of consciousness. It was because there were so many things that preconceived aspects that I had, right? So I'm like, man, I'm carrying a gun now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shit, what happens when I get pulled over?
Yeah.
How are they gonna treat me? What's this gonna look like? What are people gonna think? I was terrified.
And you have to talk a cop through a stop. That is a difference. Like, people say, what's the difference? The difference is I know when I get pulled over as a black gun owner, I get to keep my hands on the wheel and let this cop know, because this cop could be scared. And more than likely, the cop is scared. And that's not my fault. That's the media's fault. For always pushing the line that the big angry guy or the black guy, that's not, when you look at crime in this country, most crimes are committed by white people, purely by the numbers. But if you looked at the media, you think black people were raving lunatics, killing everything moving. So
burning the country down.
Yeah, I understand policemen are afraid. So I understand when I get stopped versus, say, my rap partner would get stopped. He was a white guy. He, hey, I have a gun. Me, there's a gun in this car, officer. I'll be happy to get out of the car. When you tell me to get out of the car, I'll tell you where the gun is. You can remove the gun. But what I don't do is reach for my firearm to show the officer. I don't reach for my wallet to show the concealment. None of that, And that is a part of the duality. But if that bit of uncomfortableness is all I have to endure in order to be a person that makes sure I can protect my life, the life of my family, and possibly resist tyranny one day, then I'll deal with that uncomfort.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think it was interesting you pointed out, like, the correlation between the perception painted by the media when it comes to the idea of black male owners, gun owners, right? And it's like, and I've explained this to people before, you take a white person who lives in an area that's predominantly white. Let's say they live in rural America, so to speak, where there aren't that many of us out there. And you take this individual whose only interactions with black people is by way of media, right? Besides hypermasculinity, I can't, and that's more from a romantic side of things, but besides that, I can't think of anything from the media side that is obscenely positive being shined in light of.
And that's all media. That's not, exactly. That's what people say, oh, it's Fox News. No. Yeah, that's CNN. Yeah, that's your local media. Yeah. That's New York Times. That's Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's all your media.
Yeah, they may project the message differently.
National Geographic just came out. They had a black professor to do essentially a reverse editorial on all of the National Geographic has been to this point. And they said, we've been overtly racist. Yeah. We have made black and brown people caricatures. We've sensationalized the noble savage. Yeah. We've even sexually been suggestive with topless. They said National fucking Geographic says this. So if the National Geographic has subtle or overt racism, what do you think your evening news? Because it's exciting. I don't always agree with anyone, right? So there have been things that you've disagreed with me. There's been that I disagree with you. As friends, we've talked, right? But there was something dead on that the woman who's the NRA spokesman said, and everyone just kind of lost it. What's her name? Dana. Dana said something. I don't agree with everything Dana says, but Dana says that the tears of white mothers are like ratings, and that's so true. And it was so sad to hear her acknowledge it. Yeah. But it's true, and black people know it's true because black people say it in conversations in coffee houses to themselves.
Think about it. It's so for me, for instance, right? And it's not personal, but so for instance, I don't know her name. A whole girl from BET. She does this show. I don't know. I posted on it on my Instagram page, and she turned it into a joke almost. Yeah. Right? And I know that's her shtick. Yeah. It's cool. It is what it is, but. You know, she kind of poked fun at that very statement because she's like, she called for her black up, which was me, she was referring to, and then called me something I thought was actually pretty funny. She called me the Second Amendment Ja Rule.
I'm with it.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, take your shirt off and dance for her, baby.
But, you know, what Dana said was very real, right? And trying to undermine it just because it came from Dana's mouth and not from a black woman's mouth. Yeah. It doesn't make it any less.
Because the truth is the truth, no matter if you like it, if you like the truth or not. It's just the truth. You know what I mean? The truth is, black life in this country is undervalued. Yeah. No matter which side you talk about. If you talk about, I'm a Democrat and but the Democrats were the pushers of the crime bill. Mm-hmm. And this is what I warn my African American friends who have strong feelings that are anti-gun. You calling for this, or you potentially are siding with people who really don't care about what you're saying. And what do you mean by that? I remember when every black preacher, every black politician, and every black mom and dad was calling for tougher drug laws. Yeah. But the tougher drug laws only came to their sons because 5 grams of crack, which is what poor people sold, was equivalent to 500 grams of cocaine, which is what mid-level drug dealers could afford. Weren't no mid-level drug dealers. They were catching boys, 18, 19, 21-year-old boys, and these boys kept 12, 15, 20-year sentences. Many of them are just coming home, but we cheered that on because we thought we were with allies, but your allies didn't reciprocate. And one thing I appreciated about Clinton, when they were grilling him on it, Clinton said, your people asked for this. So the first time black people got the right to vote, it was only black men because America was a patriarchal society, right? In places like South Carolina, irony of South Carolina, those black men went in a church to vote. The Klan came to make sure that vote couldn't happen. Yep. Black women surrounded that church with rifles and defended those men. Black women need to understand that as a unit, we have done more with a gun to protect our rights and freedoms than we are accredited for. Ida B. Wells, one of the most famous scholars and educators that our culture has ever produced, right? Chicagoan, right? Yeah. Ida B. Wells Housing Projects. Ida B. Wells said every black home should have a Winchester rifle. Well, what's the significance of a Winchester rifle? It's a repeating rifle. It is essentially the AR-15 of its day. Yeah. She didn't say some black homes. She didn't say just black homes with black fathers. She didn't say single. She said all black homes should have a Winchester rifle. Yeah. So it always amazes me when we side politically with things that are not advantageous for us. If you're only 54 years out of apartheid, no other group of people would voluntarily disarm. Wow.
When I have these conversations a lot of times with my own people.
Y'all say you had a conversation with the sister.
I mean, a lot of times it is the sisters. And there's the whole aspect of the unequal application of the laws as they stand towards black people. Yeah. And so then I have to look at them and I say, okay, well, if you understand that, then why would you be for them applying more gun control laws.
Makes no sense.
Where do you think they're going to enforce those? They're not going to do it in the suburbs.
Get this. Let's do it so it's only in urban areas. Well, you live in urban areas. Let's do it so that people with, what do they say? Let's do it so you don't want people who are mentally unstable, right? All right, so we know the white men shooting up shit been mentally unstable, right? Yeah. But whose children are more misdiagnosed with ADHD? Nice. Black boys are more misdiagnosed with ADHD than any other group of people, right? More black. They tried to do that to my oldest boy. I'm like, we're not putting him on Ritalin. We're going to change his diet, take Ritalin. We're not going to have my son look like a zombie. So imagine what happens the day they say, well, mental illness, and all of a sudden your child has been labeled mentally ill, and you know your child is normal. Yeah. You know your child, honestly, the school environment is just not, you're not supposed to lock a child up for 10 hours a day in a room. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we don't even think about how these things are going to play against us. We just get caught up in the emotion of, we're married to this political party. We're married to this political ideology. These are our allies, and we're doing what they say do. But the minute it's an issue for just you standing there by yourself. Because I don't like the meme culture, but some memes make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Like in Britain, the average cop walking the beat don't have a gun, right? When cops keep accidentally shooting the shit out of black men, I never see your allies saying, let's de-arm cops, let's de-arm. That doesn't happen. So it's foolish for you. Our republic isn't neat and it isn't clean, and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution aren't always in a tidy box. Yeah. But I promise you, as I've traveled the world, it's the best thing going today. It's not always, it can be messy.
But I think we're a victim of our own success in that regard.
I agree.
Right? I agree. When you've had something for so long, especially when we talk about the generations that have come into, even me, right? Some things with respect to my freedom, I didn't always feel this way. Yeah. There were things that I learned about and come upon them as time went on. But we get to a point where we're like, oh, why do we need this? We don't need this anymore. Yeah. We're so progressive. We progress past this point. Yeah. I'm like, you're gonna progress us right off a cliff. Yeah. You keep going in this direction.
You're gonna progress us into slavery.
Like,
pretty much. And people say, oh, slavery can't exist. Slavery does exist now. Slavery exists according to the 13th Amendment.
They never abolished it.
The same people who are telling you we need to abolish the Second Amendment, they ain't there for the documentary 13. Yeah. They're not there at your march to end that. You know, that begins to be my question. Like, what is an ally? Because an ally is not necessarily a friend. Yeah. Right? It's not necessarily, it's not fam. We have a mutual interest in something that progresses us both. Yep. Why are your allies not fighting your other fights with the same vigor you're fighting these? Like I told my kids on the school walkout, I love you. If you walk out that school, walk out my house.
I'm laughing, but it's so serious.
That's simple. We are a gun-owning family. Yeah. We are a family where my sister farms. We're a family where we'll fish, we'll hunt, but we are not a family that jumps on every single thing an ally of ours does, because some stuff we just don't agree with. I just don't agree with black people disarming. We own less than 1% of the guns in this country. Right? So it ain't like a lot of you armed already. Yeah. And a lot less of you all are training. More black people should be owning guns. More Americans should be training, period, white or black. Because when you say things like, oh, well, tyranny could never happen, or they have drones that will drop against us and the things, so why ain't we took Afghanistan yet? So why?
the crazy thing is, because I do hear that too. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then give me those weapons. Yeah. So since you think I can't use these guns to stop tyranny, let me have those weapons. Yes. And then they get quiet. Yeah. And then I'm like, exactly. I'm asking for an AR-15. Yeah. I'm not even asking for a drone.
We are a country, not because our military was superior to Britain. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a navy. We didn't have a superior military. What we had were farmers with long rifles that at the time Britain would engage, they'd come up, muzzle low, shoot, next one come up, shoot. Well, we couldn't win that. We were outnumbered. Yeah. We didn't have but what we did have was farmers that could hide behind trees, and as they walked back, knocked them off. Yep. And after so long, it just became that empire was just like, you know what? We can't control these cows. Let's get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And you say, well, that was then. What about the Maroons of Jamaica? What about the freedom fighters of Brazil? Yeah. Even down into the 60s. Exactly. We couldn't beat the Viet Cong for that. Yeah. So I'm just like, at a certain point, I love my progressive white friends and audience, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because you've never even owned or shot a gun. Yeah. You don't know anything about it. And I'm not saying, oh, I think war's coming tomorrow. I'm saying if someone kicks in the door of my house, like they did that football player years back, Sean, I would like for my wife to be able to know that shotgun gives her a fighting chance. My wife's in Atlanta alone right now.
Yeah.
There's an AR-15 next to her bed, there's a shotgun by her bed, and there's a Glock 27 by her bed. So one of them you gonna get if you get through that door.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? I don't want to live in a world where that's not a possibility. My Australian fans hit me sometimes like, Mike, you guys are crazy, mate. You should get rid of, but I landed in Australia in January, and the first newspaper I picked up was
I
how
remember you said that to me. Yeah.
the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
More elderly women who are retired, houses are being broken into, they're buying more guns than anyone.
Yeah.
You know, and criminals are not going to turn their guns in.
No, and I try to explain, like when it comes to my self-defense or defense of my family and the people that I love,
Yeah.
if that time comes, this is not about a competition of fairness.
Nah.
I don't want it to be fair. Nah. I want to have the most effective tool possible to deal with whatever it is that's threatening me.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand why people always want to, they want to legislate everything down to a fair competition. Somebody decides that they want to take my life, they've lost the ability to have a fair competition.
Yeah, there's no fair.
It's done.
There's no fair.
And and that's the thing that kind of, it boggles my mind a little bit when we have these conversations. Well, conversations that you and I are having, because right now to me that's not the conversation we're having. No. We're not. It's largely being dominated by, like, for instance, your progressive white friends, right, who don't even own guns.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting here, I know more about guns in this pinky
and you're never
they're doing their whole mind, but yet they're on national stage talking to me and telling me why I should get rid of my gun.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
It's at a point now I have to laugh from crying.
And I love our sisters. Like, I love my aunts, I love my cousins, you know what I mean? My family is a bigger pro-gun family.
Yeah.
But, you know, our family members is not. But my thing is, like, what do the men in your family say? You know, most black men I know think like you and I. And that's just the very, most Southern men, black or white, think like you and I. You know, my question becomes, like, let's open up the conversation for real. Like, let's take the town halls to barbershops and see how the conversation changes. You know what I mean? Because I'm just not willing to accept you telling me on Monday my president is Hitler and then telling me Tuesday to disarm. That didn't go well. That didn't go well for Jewish people when Hitler was in reign in Germany. Yeah. Why would I repeat the same mistake? See, I've never called my president Hitler. Yeah. But when you say that, I need you to understand the gravity of what you're saying to me, because I'm only 54 years into freedom. And that's what most people never get when they try to have this conversation with an African American. You're talking from a place of privilege. And I'm not saying, oh, you're white privilege. No, you're talking from a place of privilege. You ain't been a fucking slave. Yeah. You ain't lived in apartheid. You don't live in a current system where if a black boy is shot in the middle of the street by an agent of the government, he is assumed guilty. Yeah. You don't know what that is. So in those matters, you should just do like my grandfather said, stay out of other folks' business. Because if you're not going to rally in the streets to ratify the 13th Amendment with me, if you're not going to rally in the streets that agents of the state shouldn't be able to kill black boys in the streets or white men who might be drunk in a hotel, if you're not going to rally against me, shut up asking me to rally for you. Because you're wrong. Because you're not giving me the equality that you're telling me that you want to give everyone else. And that's wrong. And it's almost evil for you to do that because you're using me. You're pulling me into the Democratic National Convention, me and a bunch of other mothers, and you're parading me in front of the world. But you have nothing to do. You don't make sure those agents of the states pay. They don't pay with their pension. They don't pay with their jobs because they retire and go on to another force. You don't do any of that. You know, there have been times I've been unsatisfied with the NRA too. I thought when they marched a tank down the street of Ferguson, the NRA should have been there like, ho, ho, ho. All this other stuff aside, this is military, we don't go for that. They didn't, but this is the same NRA that allowed Robert F. Williams to have a chapter in North Carolina in the 50s to defend itself against the Klan. This is the same NRA that defended Marissa Alexander for your stand your ground law just a year ago in Florida. So for me, I don't look at the NRA like a person that doesn't like or not like me. I look at the NRA as an effective lobbying group for my rights. So what does that mean, Michael? That means that if it's an open and effective lobbying group for your rights, flood their ranks. We did the same thing to the Democratic Party. We were all Republicans in the 30s, 40s. In the 50s, a shift happened, and African Americans became Democrats because it became more politically advantageous for them to, right? So you flooded the Democratic Party, and you took that party in terms of ideology, and you transformed that party in the next 20, 30 years to benefit you. If you don't like the NRA, get 1 million black people to join.
It's the truth.
Go to the convention.
Couldn't state any truth in that.
Go to the convention.
Yeah.
Realize that this ain't white people in hoods, just regular working class people like you that are probably going to be friendly and engage you, and then add your thoughts to the agenda. Don't let you be the only brother in the room anymore. That's the way you transform. And then when I talk that, I'm talking particularly to black men.
Yeah, because I get that a lot, right? I get that question a lot, right? You know, I'll get messages from young black men, and they're talking to me. It's like, you know, I own guns. I'm quiet about it, but you know, but I want to get out and shoot, but you know, I don't want to go out there and then deal with all the racist white people. So I'm like, and you know, it's like, to be honest with you, even when I started, I had the same thought process.
It's a logical fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I remember, I'm like, man, I'm about to go out here in the middle of nowhere, be around these crazy white people. They're gonna hang me. But there was this rebelliousness in me that was kind of like, I found a passion. And no one was gonna get in the way of that passion. And I said, you know, forget that. I'm gonna go.
Absolutely.
And I went, and my mind was blown, completely blown. Not to the point of naivete, where I'm completely naive to the aspects and circumstances in this country, but to the point where, like you just pointed out, we had a common interest. They understood they understood we were from two different backgrounds, completely different, right? Yeah. But we had a common interest. And that's all that mattered at that time. That's all that mattered. And in my mind, I'm like, I will take a gun from a KKK member before I give up my gun to the non-KK member asking me to do so. Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm a lot around freedom of expression. I've gotten in some, I'm usually pissing two groups of people off, either my liberal, progressive, East Coaster white friends or my very woke black friends. Yeah. And around First Amendment issues, I piss my woke black friends off because, Mike, they're having a Klan rally at Stone Mountain, and April, what are we gonna do? Nothing. That's their First Amendment right. They can say all, they can do all, they can wear Michael Jordan's in the Klan outfit and not realize that makes no fucking sense. They can do all of that. You know what I mean? You know, that's their First Amendment right, because if I start to infringe on their rights, my rights next.
They have equal opportunity to do the same to you.
My white progressive friends, hey, Mike, we have to do something about guns. What? Why? I thought the Constitution I thought that was all we need to do. And then in 1986, we had a bill that banned fully auto. I was like, that's about it for me. Georgia's, you know, and they get angry, but I know I'm balanced in that if you really I love this country. And people say, oh, man, you love it. Yes, I do. Because I've been around the world, and I've seen the conditions of us around the world. And I'm here to tell you, it ain't the best. Yeah. It ain't perfect, but it's the best thing going today. In terms of building economic opportunity, in terms of having a strong community, in terms of being able to educate oneself, and in terms of being able to arm oneself. You will find no better country for people of an African descent right now. And that's the truth. So my thing is, what can I do to make this not only as fair as it can be for me, but for the whole? Because if you got to work for the whole, you know, you have to make sure that all rights are respected. That way my rights are respected. At least that's my philosophy. Yeah. You know, so I try to make sure that when people talk about, you know, the freedom of speech, that we also know that there's some rights that come after that. There's one right after the freedom of speech is the freedom to hold a gun. That's not by accident.
And the interesting thing is how people utilize.
Wipe on the right side. There you go.
Thank you.
The interesting thing for me is how people utilize the First Amendment so adamantly. To talk about doing away with the Second Amendment. You just don't see that nonsense, and that makes sense in your mind. Like, what type of mental gymnastics do you have to do in order to justify in your mind, I'm going to use my First Amendment right to talk about and advocate getting rid of this person's Second Amendment right.
And to want to shut you up.
Exactly.
For doing the same.
And like, how did we get to this point?
Yeah, like you're an attorney, and people, you know, because you wear a hat and you dress cool, they act like they talking to a brother standing in front of the sitco. Yeah. Like you're speaking to an attorney. This person, he obviously knows the law a lot better than you. He obviously has studied the Constitution a lot longer than you. And this is me just talking to other black folks. Like, have some faith in the brother. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he's talking about, and he entered guns as a novice. You didn't come from a gun family. You didn't come from you very much are the typical brother. You know what I mean?
And the weird thing about it is it's kind of like when I started doing what I did with the gun stuff, I started on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I'll get.
Can you check your mic?
Damn, this stupid ass mic. All right, you were saying. you watching me online, dealing with people.
Yeah, you are a person I do not envy. Like you and I have both called each other on the back and said, "Man, you all right? I know it was a tough day for you, man."
Yeah, man. It's like the weird thing is, it's like you said, it's. I guess in a weird way, and I never really thought about it until now. You and I are kind of in very much the same space.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I'll catch it from super woke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. To the super progressives.
Yeah.
All my friends that follow me, and you know, and then even sometimes from my own people, right?
Yeah.
It's
hurtful a lot of
it
days.
Is. And you know, I think it's weird. It's kind of like within this country, we've kind of relegated ourselves to our own little corners. Yeah. And it's like, you don't agree with me on this, I can't fuck with you.
Oh, nothing.
Nothing
and that's
else,
like, that's
like, that's not how it works. That's not how life works, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, do you agree with everything with your wife or your spouse? Like, nah, you don't. But
yeah, I've been agreeing with polygamy for a long time. My wife just doesn't. So it ain't an option.
You ain't gonna give me a couple with her. But you know, yeah, like, I mean, with even like with everything that's happened, like with the Parkland shooting.
Yeah. Very tragic.
Very. And which odd to me. I know why it's being done. You know, it's systematic. Yeah. But this idea that because I'm a gun owner or I'm hardcore about the Second Amendment or you know from that perspective, it's like that doesn't mean that I lack the empathy or the ability to sympathize.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
If anything, it's quite the opposite. Yeah. It's like we disagree about how we both want to save these kids' lives.
Yeah.
Period. But somehow, because my method doesn't agree with your method. Yeah. I'm a monster. Yeah. Or something wrong.
And that's
with
unfair.
Me. You know what I mean?
That's unfair. You know, I get the pain. Like I've been a gun owner since it was illegal to be a gun owner, right? I was a gun owner when I was 14, 15. You're not supposed to have a gun at that point. But I have also worked as a tireless advocate on the behalf of children, disenfranchised women in my community. Yeah. And I've also worked with gun groups like Georgians Against Gun Violence that are not, you know, the most pro Second Amendment. Yeah. But I say if there's a table to be sat at, the gun owner needs to be there. And I've done some good work, you know what I mean? And I've been a part of some good campaigns. And so I kind of try to see a problem from the whole, you know, from the whole perspective. And it's funny because a lot of times when I give the perspective in which I stand on my Second Amendment rights, I've won a lot of my progressive friends and friends over. Not to say, well, I'm totally with you, but I understand where you're coming from. And again, I have to approach it first and foremost as an American. This is a right to resist tyranny, right? And if you say, well, that's not a possibility, okay, well, don't start calling our president a tyrant. But as a black American, which is my very real everyday life, I'm 54 years out of apartheid. And I'm sorry, I don't trust the greater public to take care of my best interests because you don't when a black child is murdered by a vigilante like Zimmerman. I don't trust you to take care of my best interests because you're not fighting to get slavery taken out of our Constitution, which is still a part of the 13th Amendment. You know, I can't take you in my best interest because we treat children that are protesting against gun violence as heroes, but we treat children who are protesting in Ferguson as criminals. So I know you don't have my best interest. You have what makes you comfortable, and that's fine. I have to be only about the best interests of Americans as my constitutional rights and black Americans because we're still not as protected as we deserve to be. We don't have advocates. Like, you know, you don't want to join the NRA, fine. Join NAGA. Join the National African American Association of what is it? National African American Association of Gun Owners. Nah, it's National Association. Yeah, National African American Gun Association. Yeah, join NAGA then. You know, but join something that protects your rights. You know, I remember when I first told a bunch of brothers, hey, man, I started saying publicly, yo, join the NRA. Like, Mike, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm telling you to do the exact same thing we did to Democrats in the 50s. Flood the ranks and push your agenda forward. Brother came in to my shop with David Banner and showed me his card. He said, Mike, I ain't gonna lie, man, I had never thought about it, but I went and did it. He said, I went today. He was when the convention was in Atlanta. He said, man, I was engaged by people. Nobody really, he said everybody was open warm. I say sometimes, man, it's just about getting out of where you are and interacting with people on an individual basis. I own a Hellcat. I drive, in Atlanta, Atlanta's a black city. 15 minutes outside of Atlanta is Georgia. Radically different place than Atlanta, right? I have literally walked into restaurants, in the Waffle Houses, walked in the, you know, the street. Your wife makes you go to the outlets and stuff, and a tow truck with a rebel flag right in front of pulled up. The only thing you're missing is the old gun range he's having in the back, and he'll get out. That's your car? Yes, sir, it's my car. It's a mighty nice car. Thank you. And it'll lead into a 20-minute conversation where I realize I have more in common with this person than I did the whole rap crew I was on with for the last 30 dates. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm a Southerner. I hunt, I fish, believe in gun ownership, like fast cars. Yep. The only thing difference is society has told him, you're white, be scared of this black guy. Yep. I'm black, be scared of this white guy. That is dismissed within a conversation. Within a conversation, I've interjected into his life exactly. We can do that. Yeah. We are intelligent. we're great citizens. You should do that. You should be a part of everything freedom allows you to. Yeah. And you should flood the ranks of every organization you think you shouldn't be a part of, you know, excluding the Klan, because, you know, they made it no, they don't want you there. Yeah, you know. But you exactly, that was a great scene. But you should be, before you give all your rights up, use them all.
Yeah. Say that again.
You know, before you give all your rights up, use them all.
Thank you.
Use them. Yeah. Like, take a public stance. Use your First Amendment rights. Buy, own, train, use your weapon. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be victims. And our story doesn't have to come from victimology. Yeah. Doesn't always have to be we're the victims of. Because again, when many of our sisters and our brothers who side with the progressives, when they're talking about giving up, they're never talking about agents of government. They're only talking about us. Yeah. So what good does that further do us? Again, you know, you should be reading books like Negroes with Guns. Yep. You should be reading books like Shoot Back. Yep. You should be reading books like all this nonviolent stuff to get you killed. Yeah. You should read that. Yet if you're not reading that, what the is wrong with you? You need to know your history with the gun.
Interesting thing about that is a lot of people who think they woke out here will realize very quickly they ain't so woke.
You not woke. You not woke. Nah. Wakanda, everybody had guns and spears and everything else you needed. Yeah, like you can't continue to be the lackey. Yeah. Like, people are accusing you of being a lackey of the NRA. Well, you're a lackey of the progressive movement. Because you have never disagreed with the people who tell you what to do. Like, think about that. You have never disagreed with, you've never said to them, hey, hold up. Hold on. A football player just got shot by an armed white man for a traffic argument. A black teenager got shot by an armed white man in a gas station because he had played his music loud. Where were you then? Yeah. Where? Like when you went, like, start call, like, you gotta have to do like a girlfriend when you list all the stuff you've done for the boyfriend. And if you're not in a reciprocal relationship, why are you in this relationship? Because the same people I see dogging you out will be the same people I see posting a month from now says, why weren't you at our Black Women's March? When they go, you know, when they telling their allies, we didn't come to the Women's March because you weren't at the Black.
The interesting thing about that too is, like, you know, there are very, very public cases where the NRA has, and it's like, I have a hard time having this conversation with people because it's like, they automatically assume I'm caping for them, surely based off the fact that I am who I am with the organization. And it's like, nah, the truth is the truth, right? Josephine Byrd, right? Elderly woman, living in the projects, right? She lived in a, I forgot, what's the relegated homes,
like the high rise?
The high rise, yeah, right? She wasn't allowed to own a firearm there. But yet she was passing up drug dealers, gangbangers every time she came into her project home, and none of y'all were there. Yeah. Nobody was fighting for her right to own a firearm to protect herself. No one.
The silliest thing to me about a lot of these fights is you're being told what to do, and you can tell in the repeating of what you're saying. There's no such weapon as an assault weapon. You can use a weapon to assault someone, but it's a rifle. It's a semi-automatic rifle. You're saying what you've heard. You want to ban a gun because it looks scary. Handguns kill more people in America than rifles. And Coca-Cola and soda kills more people than handguns. You're not trying to ban soda, and you're not even smart enough to have the argument to ban handguns.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, too, is the idea, like, when we talk about gun control and the way they push it, especially within our communities. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like, you're not understanding this. Like, the issues in the inner city where you have these highly concentrated levels of violence, those are socioeconomic problems.
Yeah, you can fix that without moving guns. Yeah, you can provide jobs. You can end redlining. You know what I mean?
But yet, here we are. We have a march that's going on next week, and our biggest celebrities are donating millions to a march. Yeah. While our inner city schools over here are in deplorable conditions. We're donating $3 million to a march about gun control. Yeah. But yet we have communities over here that are in economic downturn. Like, it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Celebrities often don't know what to do. They're told what to do. I had a celebrity very famous, like sold well over 20, 30 million records, called me and said, hey, Mike, what you doing right now? I said, I ain't doing nothing. He said, could I call you? I was like, what's up? He called me. He was at a radio station. They were pressuring him to do a anti-gun thing. And I could tell he wasn't comfortable with it. And he said, would you mind explaining them and why you? And I would say, very simply. I said, you know, I'm African-American, 54 years out of apartheid. I'm very pro-Second Amendment. This is why. And before you say, well, what about the children? My daughter goes to Savannah State University. There was also a shooting on that campus. Talked to my wife and daughter after that. The decision was, we're going to go to Savannah. She's going to get a gun and train more. And after that, they say, Mike, we never heard that perspective. We surely respect and understand it. And they stopped pressuring him to do something he didn't want to do. And that ain't just guns. When, as a celebrity, they ask me, hey, will you do this anti-bullying drop for radio? Absolutely not. Why? Because your child needs to get punched in the face so he can learn to punch someone back. And that isn't saying that it's right to be punched in the face. That's saying as sure as you're an adult, something or someone's going to punch you in your fucking face. And you have to develop the aptitude and the fortitude to fight back. And that's just not in the physical. Yeah. You know, we are raising a generation of kids where everyone gets a trophy. But in real life, everyone don't get a trophy. No. You know, in real life, the cops don't come on time. You know, in real life, depending on where you live, you're not going to have the time to try to logic your way out of something when you can take the time to train and prepare before that and take care of yourself. When the lights went out in our neighborhood as a kid, we fished, we hunted. My grandfather had gas lanterns. You know, when we were in the depths of the country and there was no electricity, when we would go visit our great-grandparents on farms and whatnot, then you understood why candlelight was important. You know, there was no grocery store to go to. You had to go get the eggs yourself. We have to understand that self-reliance means just that. I have to be willing to take care of myself at every level. And I have to, you know, and again, everybody doesn't have to have you don't want a gun, that's fine.
But here's the thing, though. There's a symbolic element to the idea of firearm ownership, which is, and I have a theory, why the progressive liberal side of the political spectrum pushes gun control. Let me say Democrats. I don't mean Democrats as citizens. I mean the political leaders within that sphere.
I understand.
There's something about a firearm that symbolically forces you to confront the idea of the power of self-reliance.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. And when that happens, it starts to spill over into every other facet of your life. Because you pick up a gun, because it happened to me. I remember the first day I walked out of my house with a gun strapped on my hip. Right?
3 minutes.
Okay. I gotcha. Walked out of the house with my gun strapped on my hip. And I was terrified, but then I realized something. Holy shit, if something happens now, I am not at the mercy of whoever attacks me. And then from there, it spilled over to every other aspect of my life. Absolutely. What can I do in my life now to improve my self-reliance, my ability to better myself in that regard? Absolutely. The problem is when you have that mentality springing forth in the community that you need to depend on you to win elections, you don't want that shit.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think that the worst thing African Americans have done in the last 60 years is marry ourselves to a political party and a political ideology. We should be honestly a political bloc in this country where we do what is in the best interest of our community. I think America is better with a stronger black community.
Absolutely.
When our community is economically better, when we're better by way of education and jobs and commerce, we are a stronger community. This country is better. When we are weaker, this country is more fractured and weaker. You should have no shame in depending on yourself first and foremost, taking you as an individual, building a stronger community, and making sure that that community is represented in politics by whatever political contestant in front of you that serves as your community. You should feel no shame. You should feel no guilt about that. You don't owe anyone anything. You give 94% of your vote to one political party. That political party, at the time that it had a president that looked like you, elected no black woman to the Supreme Court. did not have a viable jobs program for any urban, inner city, or black people, and did not create any type of mortgage program to make sure that you could keep the houses you had or get new homes.
But I can tell you what they've been selling them for the last 20 decades.
Absolutely.
Gun control.
Gun control.
It's the perfect scapegoat to not actually fix or address the complicated issues that are happening.
Absolutely.
And no one wants to talk about the money.
Yeah, you want to fix Chicago? Jobs. Yeah. You want to fix it. The people don't kill each other when there's money.
Like if you have something to lose, you don't engage in that behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you create an environment that fosters a level of worth above and beyond something that you have to kill someone over. Then you don't have to deal with that issue.
You want to stop fatherless homes, ratify your drug laws, give people jobs, teach young boys about sexuality quicker so they understand that their body ain't to be just given away. You reduce teen pregnancy, you have more people getting married, more people buying homes in those places, young men with jobs now and women who can actually raise a family. You begin to change the fabric. Sorry, taking all the guns out of Chicago is not going to fix poverty. It's not. It won't fix poverty.
Yeah.
Banning the AR-15 is not going to fix Chicago because most people are dying by handguns.
Yeah. We can't even get to the point that poverty is the issue because we keep stopping at
gun control. And they don't want poverty to be the issue because that particular party is the party that tends to give you something by way, and I'll say even if they give you, it ain't giving much to men. Yeah, don't give much to the men in your community. If you look at it, the focus is always women and children. And there's nothing wrong with taking care of women and children, but as a man, you work at FedEx. You pay taxes and state and federal taxes. Your taxes then go to help government programs like WIC, and then you're forced to pay child support on the back end for an institution you're already paying to. You're obviously, these people don't have your interests, and because they don't have your interests, it furthers the split of our family. Further split of your family. Now you have more young men growing up without fathers. So instead of your father giving you your first BB gun, you get your first gun from your homie on the street. Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I hope that we've made not as many people mad as I thought.
The only thing I got from this conversation, honestly, is that it needs to happen again. There's just way too much to unpack. There's more that we need to unpack.
I think we need more brothers in the room too. I'd like to, when you come to Atlanta, I'd like to have.
And that's where I think the next conversation needs to be.
Absolutely.
I never even came to the shop.
Yeah, you gotta come to the shop. I love you, brother, and I'm very proud of you. Man. And on your worst days, I still call you and say, you all right?
I need those phone calls. I need those phone calls.
I do too.
I'll through there and I see the message from you. I'm like, what Mike want?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. But you really are valued in our community. You really are valued.
Appreciate it, man.
We good?